I'm live. Now, people might be here, they might not be. There's always that delay where I'm just kind of staring at the screen, wondering what's going on. We are gathered here today to talk about the upcoming U.S. tour that we're doing, the national tour of the Eastern Seaboard. It is real, not really a joke. A lot of people are wondering. We're teaming up with Decks and Docks, which is a franchise that deals decks and docks materials. And we'll be doing our meet and greets there and a lot of their locations. We'll also be checking out different job sites. So I want to talk about that mainly. And that's why we were on the cover of Deck Specialist. It was really just to kind of bring focus to the tour that's happening. And that we figured that was a really good enough reason to be on the cover because typically carpenters don't go on tour. In this case, we're doing it because we thought it would be a great idea to kind of bring the community together. We're going to have different deck builders from different cities. I'm going to be visiting job sites, helping out with a little bit of work, and kind of filming a video series as we go about different types of work that I'm not familiar with, being a guy who grew up in the inner city. I didn't even know what a seawall was until 6 months ago. So it'd be cool to see people build some coastal things, docks, seawalls, boathouses, just cool stuff in general. Doing a lot of OC lumber on this, and OC lumber is a big part of this. They're the reason it's possible. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I sent out a status or a post yesterday to gather some Q&A questions for this little session. I am going live literally everywhere at once. So if I look like I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm looking at them. I have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok all going at the same time. So I'm just going to go down the list of questions and try to answer them as best I can. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment. And if I see them, I will do my best to answer them if I have the information in my brain. Do we have the questions? Oh. Actually, the first question that came up were tips for selling composite decking. The best thing to do is just tell your customers you don't do wood decking. And next thing you know, you're only going to sell composite. I know that sounds easier said than done, but that is literally actually how it's done. So you just set a standard, you set a non-negotiable for your company and the quality of work you do, and you only book customers who appreciate that. There's no point in wasting time with customers who don't appreciate that because you're not going to see eye to eye and it's going to become a problem. So that's as simple as that. Where will we be in Tampa? I know we're in Clearwater, Tampa, the whole Bay Area on July 22nd. Whether or not we're doing a meet and greet there yet, I actually don't have that information, but I think we should. Where will we be, or when will we be in Wilmington, North Carolina? That will be the 17th to 19th, and it'll be at the Decks and Docks location. Yes, what was the other question? A whole bunch. Do you want me to list off all the different stops? All right, well, there's another question here. Millboard stair ideas. I guess for millboard trim ideas is mainly it. Millboard's really cool for trim. We were able to do some pretty cool stuff with it because it's light as a feather. It's really easy to cut through. It's not structural by any means, so you have to make sure you frame really well, but we can do some really cool stuff. We made like a barnwood beam that will never rot or decay, and it already looks half decayed, but it'll be maintenance free. It'll stay the color that we made it. Made it pretty cool. OC framing for finishing ideas, top rails maybe. OC framing is amazing for trim because it doesn't expand or contract. So not only do we frame with it, but we use the black stock or whatever color stock that they have to do most of our trim work, because the biggest issue with composite decks is the expansion and contraction, and it's usually a nightmare. When we use PVC or regular composite, expansion contraction is an absolute nightmare. So OC does solve that problem. Do you use U2 fasteners? Yeah, U2 fasteners are cool. I prefer GRK at the moment. That's currently what we're using. I think they were both invented by the same person, so really it's just a potato thing. Pricing and quoting techniques. You want to identify your materials, your overhead, your profit, and then your labor. Labor is the hardest part. Once you have that, you add all those together, and that's your actual quote. Make sure that you don't skimp on those things, or you'll go out of business, guaranteed. Will Brian be there? No, Brian doesn't have a visa like I do, and I don't think he has a passport, so he won't be going to the United States yet. If you guys are ever in Colorado, hit me up, and I'll take you fly fishing. Martin. Thanks, Martin. I always wondered, is fly fishing where you're fishing while you're flying, or are you putting flies on a hook? I grew up in the city. There wasn't a lot of fishing going on there either. So I know it might sound like a stupid question, but I'm genuinely curious if people are putting flies on hooks and casting them out. I know that probably sounds stupid to you. Who's the most handsome roofer you know? Them roof boys are definitely... Them roof boys is the most handsome roofer I know. I know his name is plural, but that's just him keeping up with the times. He's a very handsome guy. Will there be punch and pie? I'm assuming there will be something, whether it's like hot dogs or ice cream or maybe punch and pie at these locations on the tour. There's definitely going to be something there to keep people fed and occupied. Which band tee is your favorite? I don't have a favorite, but what I do tend to do is circulate towards either the really old ones or the really new ones, and a lot of the middle ones just get lost in translation. I have probably enough for every day of the year. I definitely have hundreds. Whether I have 1,000 or not, I'm not sure. I've never counted. There's only so many bands I listen to, well, probably a couple hundred bands I listen to, but some of them make better merch than others, right? Sometimes you get amazing musicians that make terrible merch. It's just unwearable. When will you start making shirts? I have been making shirts now for a couple years. I don't really promote them heavily because I don't like the idea of selling things to the audience. I always just wanted to showcase things. Selling things has never been something that really makes me happy, other than decks, of course. But mainly I just like to show you new things. I don't actually like to sell you things. But I do have a merch store. If you go to bullymedia.ca or .com, I can't remember which one it is. Try both. There's a merch section there with some of the merch designs that we've done. A lot of them are parodies of band shirts that we have anyways. And the stops on the tour. Okay, so we're starting at Big Pine Key, then going to Fort Lauderdale, then Fort Myers, then Cape Canaveral, I think.
No, Cape Coral.
Cape Coral. So I don't even know what the hell's going on. Okay, then we go to Sarasota, Winter Haven, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Hudson, Daytona, Jacksonville, Savannah, Charleston, Greenville, Birmingham, Nashville, Charlotte, Wilmington, Newport News, which is going to be fun to visit because that does not sound like a city at all. And then we have Baltimore, Bernadette, Long Island, Butler, and Providence. And if I pronounced any of those wrong, I don't know. You'll have to correct me. And was there any additional questions on there? There were some other ones. Okay, so let's see what we got here. If anyone has questions while I'm here, I will answer them while we're here. Currently scrolling through everybody. And each platform has their own unique way of doing things. Oh, look at that. This one has 8 new messages. 9 new messages. Nope. Look at that. I just don't know how to read it, so just bear with me for a second because I have no idea what's going on. How do you do marketing? There's a real question. Social media. When I first started my company, I didn't have any money. I started this company with like 20 bucks. So marketing was one of the things I did not have a budget for, but I realized that I'm allowed to post things on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok for free, and nobody can stop me as long as I'm being, relatively suitable for work. So I basically just became the mascot of my own company and started making videos every single day for like 4 or 5 years straight. And now we're here. That does sell decks, but it does more than that. So there's a big picture you have to think about when you're getting into the content business. And if you're doing it just to sell decks, a lot of people tend to be conservative and you won't be seen as much, so you may not sell as many decks. it's a very complicated process. What's your background with video production, or do you have help with that? Now, for the reason the whole Pay Attention Brian thing started was because I didn't know how to edit videos, so everything was in one take, and all had to be under a minute, because anything under a minute at the time would blow up. So I started saying Pay Attention Brian because Brian was filming, and he was off in space filming squirrels running up trees and just random stuff. It was kind of funny, and it became sort of our niche by accident because I didn't know enough about the influencer space to know that you're supposed to have a hook and you're supposed to have like this persona. I was literally just being myself and telling Brian to pay attention because he wasn't paying attention. And same with like the band shirt thing. I didn't realize how big of a deal it was in terms of creating a brand of myself. It was all sort of just coincidence and luck in my part. And now I edit videos myself. I have outsourced like the complicated ones, like the competition series we do, and some of the stuff that's more like high-end TV quality. I outsource the editing because I'm not very good at that. I edit almost every video you've ever seen on my phone, and it just takes time, and sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. Sometimes videos do well, sometimes they do not. Let's see here. I have a bunch here. Best way to advertise when first starting. Did just cover that, and I would say hustle, hustle, hustle. Wrap your truck if you have one. Make sure your phone number, your website is on it. So whenever you're parked at a job site, you have a constant presence in the neighborhood. I don't really like the plastic yard signs. I think they're tacky. It depends on the kind of work you're trying to do. If you're trying to do really quick, sort of cheap discount work, then the bags on the wire on the front yard are great. But if you're trying to do something a little more high end, I would suggest just wrapping your truck and your trailer. The trailer, maybe don't wrap it because it just tells thieves where all your good stuff is, and then they'll steal it. So maybe just wrap the truck, maintain a presence on the job site. That's one way to get word of mouth started. Or also just do great work. Take your time. It's okay if you're late on the schedule, but as long as the work is good, people will tend to forgive you and recommend you to others. Where do we got? My God, the amount of questions that I cannot see because I don't know how to use this stuff. Okay. iPhone or Android? We actually just use iPhone. I actually purchased, the first time was like 3 years in, I purchased an iPhone just for editing and filming. It's nothing else. It doesn't have a plan on it. It doesn't have any apps on it. It just films and edits. And you get a terabyte of memory, and you get pretty much a full season out of it that way. Now I have like 3 of them. Like right now I'm talking to 4 phones at once. The problem is I don't have the time to constantly offload the phones every time we're filming, and I always want to film stuff and capture it. Whether I use it or not is irrelevant. I might use it later, but I want to capture everything. And then when I do have the time, or it's time to put out a video, I can comb through the footage and find something that might be interesting or entertaining or something that I'd like to personally watch. And that's how I do the videos. I've always just released videos based on what I would like to see. What screws for 2x10 deck joists instead of joist hangers for floating deck, or should I do both? So typically the joist hangers go where there's actually like a load to carry. So against a ledger, if you're cantilevering a beam, you don't need joist hangers. So if you're doing 2 beams and cantilevering 9 to 12 inches on either side, you don't need joist hangers at all. You want to use GRK or equivalent structural screw if you're going to use screws instead of ring shank nails. Just make sure they're not just regular wood screws because they do have a tendency to shear. Wood Bully, what's up? The best. What's up? We got other ones. Just bear with me while I find the comments because I don't know how to find them. This one had comments up and they disappeared. I'm like a boomer combing through their phones. What is going on? Oh, it was. They're gone. Oh. If you have any questions, go ahead and write them now because it'll be a lot easier to find the ones that are more recent than to go. Okay. Did you mean to invite? I don't know what that means because I didn't invite anybody as far as I know. Okay, so really like your work and daily tips. Not my line of work, but always love your ideas. Great job. Thank you. I appreciate that. And if it's not your line of work, I appreciate that you find what I do for a living interesting. That's one of the biggest things I found curious about the whole content thing. It's like we could take any job from any walk of life, any type of skill, and people find it entertaining whether they do it or they don't do it. I like watching carpenters work sometimes because I can appreciate talent, I can appreciate effort and skill, and I like watching people do things that I don't know how to do for the exact same reason. I think that's really interesting that people are gaining followings just doing regular everyday stuff. Some people in the comments don't like that. You really, what area do you service? I service currently just the Durham region, which is just east of Toronto in Ontario, in a country called Canada. We used to service downtown Toronto, but we realized it was a lot easier to just kind of service near where everyone lives out in the suburbs. So we're out east now. It's a lot better for parking. It's a lot better for permits. It's a lot better for quite a few things. What do you do in your off time or fun? Any kind of hobbies? I wish I had something interesting to say. I used to have many hobbies, and I used to do lots of things in my off time, but the problem with me is all my hobbies become full-time things. I'm not capable of having relationships with interests. I have obsessions. That's just part of who I am. It's constant battle. So something my wife has to deal with. You're from Windsor. Cool. What are some good resources for getting started in deck fence building? One of the great resources is NADRA, is a North American Deck and Railing Association. They do something called Decks Done Right, and they basically teach people how to build decks correctly in terms of international building code, of course, regional, what's accepted and what isn't, and what year of the IRC or whatever they're taking from will vary, and we could argue for forever until we're blue in the face because everyone's township is resources. Networking is the biggest one. You go to the awards, you go to the different functions that they have, you meet other deck builders, you meet other business owners who are like-minded, and it'll grow your business tenfold. Networking is the ultimate tool for growing any business and any set of knowledge that you have. No school can do what simple networking with like-minded people can do for you. And I'm frozen on whichever one this one is. Wake up. Okay. When you started, did you do paid for social media advertising or posting? Yeah, I never paid for social media advertising. I was always so scared that if I boosted my social media, it would ruin the momentum that I've already built. Now that I know for a fact that's not true, the algorithms are entirely separate. They're two completely separate things. They have nothing to do with each other. But I was always afraid that if I boosted a post, all my posts would now tank and they would just try to suck me dry for all the money I had and they'd make me keep boosting. So I never boosted a post. I don't think it's a terrible idea to do that. You just have to make sure you're targeting the right geography and the right demographic so you can convert those into sales without systems or processes. It's all about maintaining organization. So the first time I tried to scale my business was like my second or third year in, I can't remember. And I tried to scale from 300,000 to a million. And it was insane because I was doing it myself. I didn't actually change personnel. I didn't change the tasks that I was given. I maintained the same task list and just increased it instead of trying to replace myself to give myself more freedom to do other things, which are more important at the top when you're running a larger business. I didn't understand any of that stuff. And now that I do understand it, I know how cautious I have to be when I grow. And I also don't know if I want to or need to. My current business model doesn't really require that kind of scaling in order to increase my profit margins. If that makes sense, it probably doesn't. If you come out to one of these dates, if I'm in your city, I can explain it to you a little bit better in person. But yeah. How far does your work reach and how long have you been doing work in the GTA? Did it take comfortably expand outside? Okay, so for me, we did work in Toronto. I did work in Toronto for probably 10 years before I got comfortable doing work in the suburbs. The problem was we always thought the suburbs had smaller budgets. They had bigger yards and smaller budgets, so we can't do cool things. In downtown, you know, people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on these tiny little stamp-sized lots. So we could do some really cool stuff in a small space, and it was kind of exciting. Where out in the suburbs, they have these massive lots and no budget, right? So it took a while to get to the point where our reputation could match the competition out here, so we could actually start getting jobs that were worth getting and better for our reputation as a whole, if that makes sense. Lighting recommended for deck perimeter. Inlight is the best lighting on the market. Inlight will always be the best lighting on the market, in my opinion. I've never had a callback due to their fixtures. I've only had callbacks due to people not installing them correctly. I like the Fusion 22s. They're not too bright. If you put a full-size Fusion in there, it might be a little blinding. It's all about to drill holes in the deck because the wrong placement of light can be dangerous and annoying. Very bright, especially on stairs or perimeters. It will sort of just build a wall of light where you don't actually know where your step is, and it becomes dangerous and blinding. Oh, we're back on over here. Wonder what that was about. What do we have here? What do you think about the 2x4 joists? I don't know what that means, brother. If you mean like the OC 2x4 like studs that we use, I think they're great. Great for trim. One of the problems we've always had framing with pressure treated is it looks hideous. When you start building stuff that's more high end, you don't want any wood showing, any like pressure treated wood showing. If you're going to use wood, you want to use something nice like an exotic hardwood or a thermally modified wood. You don't really want to have pressure treated wood showing anywhere. So if you're framing out of something black or even using black 2x4s, it'll cut a step out for you. Get a nice finish. Ever compete with Jeff from Home Renovision? On YouTube, yes, but in real life, no. He's the bald guy who has the crazy amount of views on YouTube for doing DIY stuff, right? I haven't met him in person. If he lives near me, I did not know. I always thought he was American. So I don't know why. He should reach out. We'll see. I didn't know that. Sure. Helical pile is still good for second story decks? Yes, but it depends on the type of helical pile. So what we do with helical piles is we draw the deck, how it would be, say it would be in concrete, whatever it is. We haven't determined our footing yet. I send that to the engineer, and they determine, based on the load, what needs to be done in terms of the helical piles. So there's different phases. We use mass core piles for the big ones. They have what's called an M1, M2, and an M3. And it varies from M1 being the basic, which can hold up almost any deck, to be honest with you. And then depending on the span, because the way the weight load works is just division of weight. So say if I'm building a deck, it's a rectangle against the wall. The wall immediately takes half. Now the beam's taking the second half. And then it's transferring down to the two footings. Now if I want a huge span, those two footings each have to take 1/4 of the entire snow load, the weight, whatever the capacity needs to be. Therefore, they need to be bigger footings than they would typically be. So yeah, I just let engineers take care of that, stamp it, and then send it off to the city for permits, because I'm not qualified to do that kind of guesswork, and they're liable. So it's just better when you get a professional to make a professional decision. Can you build my bed frame? I'm always hearing it squeak. So, you want to know the truth? Yes, you can build a bed frame, a squeak-proof bed frame, if you fasten it all correctly, but over time, every bed's going to start squeaking. Super underrated. Just throw a mattress on the floor. Do it. Thank me later. Like an Irish immigrant. Just throw your mattress on the floor. Live in Louisiana, can't find OC lumber. Do I need to order from some website? Are we in Louisiana for the tour? We are not. It's very coastal right now with OC lumber, so you know you're gonna have to be looking east from Louisiana to find it. whether or not it's close enough to ship, it should be. You just got to look into it. Check out Decks and Docks closest to you and see if you can get it done that way. A fortress bed frame. Yeah, you could do a steel bed frame and fortress decking. It would probably be solid. I'm not stopping in Chicago, but I would like to. I've only been to Chicago once on a layover, but it reminded me a lot of Toronto in terms of like just like the size, the buildings, the streets. It was cold as well at the same time, so it wasn't like the most interesting thing in the world. If you've ever been to, if you're from Chicago, you should visit Toronto, and you'd be like, oh well, same deal. Like your content often, troll your comments because I like your content. Trolling gets comments, and comments feed the algorithm. That's true, and you know, trolls are just as valuable. Well, not just as valuable, they're valuable. They add to, like you said, the algorithm, and they give me something to talk about. Now, when I first started on TikTok, a lot of how I grew was responding to critics in kind of funny ways that I thought, you know, why not? I was always good at being a smart ass, so I figured I'd do that. And it worked, and we grew rather quickly, but it got to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. I was just too tired. And I don't know, maybe I'll like hire an intern to make snarky remarks back in the future. But either way, it's appreciated. All comments are appreciated. Even negative opinions, because everyone's entitled to an opinion, so I don't expect everyone to like me. But even if you do like me and you're commenting anyways, it's cool too. No big deal. How did you get into high-end decks and materials? Do you specifically look for that work? Okay, so when I first started my company, Wood Bully Ltd is what it's called. At the same time, because I had no money, I had to pay my bills, I had a family to feed, and I took a huge risk that most people wouldn't have taken, and probably for good reason. I started a second company at the same time that specialized, a different name, but it specialized in pressure-treated fences and little pressure-treated decks. And every time they got a call from the newspaper or from Google or whatever for something that was between, say, $1,000 and $20,000, I would use that company so that the referrals for the cheap work would stay in the cheap name. And then for Wood Bully Ltd, I wanted to only cater to the stuff that I really wanted to build, the stuff that I was excited to build. And so Wood Bully would just say no to anybody who asked for something that wasn't what I wanted to build. And then the other company at the time, which only lasted about 8 months before I was able to close it and just do Wood Bully full time, I would say yes to pretty much everything to keep the food on the table. So we were building a lot of pressure-treated decks that first year under a different label. But the reason I started the two labels because I didn't want to get pigeonholed into Wood Bully being a pressure-treated deck and fence company. And those referrals would keep coming from the same type of people, from the same type of neighborhoods, with the same type of budgets. No offense to them, because this is what it was. And it took years before, you know, I could even afford to hire me at that cost, because I wouldn't even be able to afford to have me build a pressure-treated fence at the time. Even up to probably a couple of years ago, wouldn't have been able to do that. So there was an idea I did. Now, whether or not it was a good idea, I don't know. It panned out for me. But maybe I was being a little cautious, but I was just so scared of having to say no to everything and not being able to eat. That's why I started the second company at the time. 8 months later, we closed that company. It was great because we didn't need it anymore. It became more of a pain because we didn't want to do that kind of work. And I could have, of course, scaled it and groomed a business and tried to sell it to somebody. I don't know. But, you know, you pick your battles. Didn't want to do that. I'd rather have fun building exciting things that I enjoy building. So when it comes to that, you set your minimum budget based on what you want to do, and you just say no. If you know you want to build decks between 100K to 250, and that's where you want to stay in that range, when somebody calls, you need to ask them their budget right away. If they won't tell you their budget, you're not a good fit. And even if their budget starts at 50 or 40K, there's, you know, most people, they say 50K, they mean 75. You know, or sometimes they mean 250. It really depends on the person. But some people, you know, you never know, right? So you just got to try to sell it. We got a special guest here today. And then how are we going to fit you in?
Check this out.
Boom.
There I am, right there.
And then we have to adjust some of these.
Oh, we got a lot of these.
Yeah,
Holy
a whole
mission
table
control.
full of phones. It's mission control. It feels like we're on a spaceship.
I've been outside. I'm a little bit disheveled.
He's been working while I've been sitting in here. It's a heat wave today, so it's appropriate that I sit in here with lemon water and ice. And do you have water? Yeah, you're good.
I have a water. Ice cold, baby.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Chuck? I know we've never been seen in the same room together.
How do you monitor the situation here?
It's a bit hectic, so we gotta.
Oh, look at this.
You want to read them off of this one, this half, and I'll read them off of this half
today.
Oh, look at that. Kevin's probably not even watching.
Decks.
Okay, I got a good one. How often are you dealing with setbacks due to inspection scheduling, or are you getting inspections? Laugh my ass off. Thumbs up. Okay, so that's the biggest problem I have with building nice things and being legit. Is not only the inspections are fine, getting the permits is such a pain. I can't even describe to you. It doesn't matter what my process is, because each township wants to see different things. And engineers aren't very quick with the stamps. So every time we will design a project, and then we'll have it designed in AutoCAD or drawn up in AutoCAD, get it stamped. But if we're using new products that the town's not familiar with, helical piles, glass railings, alternative framing methods, composite decking, it drives them nuts because they've never seen it before. And the smaller the town is, the more of a pain it is to convince them that this is okay and we can build this way. So it's just a process where we need more stamps from more engineers to cover the town, because the town has no idea what's going on. So that's the biggest issue, I think. And that, and we take way too long to build decks. But so it takes way too long to get approval and way too long to build it. But you'd think that means we'd be way backed up, which we are. So that's the only backdraw. Now, if there is a good process, like if I go back to school and become an engineer just to stamp my own products or my own projects, that'd be cool. But I don't want to spend 8 years doing that, so I'm not gonna. Is there any questions on your side?
Dude, I look up to you as a carpenter. Love your work. Just wanted to say, have a good day, man.
Well, thank you.
That's nice.
He's talking to you, I think. Control. When is the next build-off? We just finished filming it last week, so it should be out next month. I know it sounds crazy. I know when I filmed the second episode, I wrote that, oh, we just wrapped up. You'll see it in 3 weeks. And one of the guys in the comments was like, that's ridiculous. Just release it right now. And it's like, how are we going to release it right now? We have literally 4 cameras, multiple microphones and audio, and it has to be edited into something that you can digest, right? You're not just going to watch 8 hours of raw footage. Doesn't make sense. So it takes time to edit, unfortunately. I wish I could release it right now because I would. Well, what does that say? Do you ever use pre-built metal stair stringers for decks? It would have to be in a very particular circumstance, like a trailer park, or maybe my own house if the measurement was perfect. But there are systems for steel stringers that are not pre-built. I recommend custom stairs whenever possible, so that every step is the same size. Definitely worth it. DIY friendly? No. So if you're not a carpenter by trade, you don't know how to build stairs, I mean, just try to build the deck to the height that matches the prefab stairs, and then try to bring the landscaping up to meet it. You can get away with it that way, but that's a lot of work to just avoid doing a little bit of math. I have lots of videos about how to build stairs, steel ones, wood ones, etc. So there's that. Is there any more questions here? What do we got?
Construction freestyle from Chuck. Not today, brother.
We could do one on the spot. They don't think it's real.
I could do one.
Do you want to do one on the spot?
It'd be a little sneak preview of the next one. I could though. If I get 10,000 follows on my page, I'll freestyle.
Yeah. Everyone, 10,000 of you, run over there and follow.
Like, follow, subscribe.
We got this one here. Hey Chuck, hey Gordon Chuck, are any of my IG comments questions showing up? Sending this one from my phone. Yes, we are seeing it. Haney, we are seeing your stuff.
He's gonna throw a curveball question.
You're on the Instagram one that's in our, it's kind of in the middle there, so it's easy to miss because Instagram has a different form of scrolling.
So we got Instagram, Facebook,
TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, or vice versa. I don't know, but they all look very similar. I don't really know. But I know that people are probably bored.
We should be doing some dancing or something. Entertaining. Some exotic entertainment.
When can we expect the new Beat the Bully? Very soon, a few weeks. It'll be ready. And then after the tour, we'll be doing a whole bunch more. We got a big warehouse up north, and we're just going to be filming those all winter long. So it should be fun. And if you want to compete, feel free to fill out the form. It should be in the comments section or in the description of all the episodes that are currently running. So it should be easy for you to find that. And if you sign the form and you are able to cross the border into Canada, which was a big issue for a lot of the really talented carpenters, and same with the carpenters here, they had a bit of a checkered past, and they're not capable of crossing the border. But usually, the best ones are sometimes. Because if they stayed in school, they probably wouldn't be carpenters. And I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but the new generation is different because they're actually going to school for carpentry and they're very excited about it. They don't know what they're getting into yet. They don't realize that it's 5 years of ditch digging and backbreaking labor, and I'm not joking. It's rewarding if you're a kinetic thinker. If you're mechanically inclined, you want to build stuff for a living because it's the only way that the time goes by fast enough that you don't feel like you are indentured to a job you hate.
Oh, someone said hi from Hawaii.
Wow. It must be hot there. It's hot here today, so.
Let me come stay at your house. Milwaukee or DeWalt?
Yeah.
I like Milwaukee. Milwaukee. I like them all.
Milwaukee.
I don't discriminate.
Yeah, different tools for different applications. Saws, DeWalt and Makita make better saws than Milwaukee. Milwaukee makes better drills, and Milwaukee's honestly starting to make better everything, though. I have to admit it.
Different strokes for different folks.
But their batteries are soft and weak. Milwaukee batteries are the worst batteries on that level. I have more Milwaukee batteries that need serviced every year than any other brand. So let's stop pretending their batteries are good because they're not. The second you need them, they start blinking, and or if you use them too much, they start blinking. Or if you use the battery until it dies, it'll never charge again, which is to me ridiculous. But tools are good. They need to work on the batteries, and I know the batteries are the biggest part. I think tool companies, the batteries, they spend millions and millions of dollars just ensuring the research and stuff on the batteries, so that once they have their battery, that's pretty much their bread and butter. So I don't think they're going to change the batteries very much.
They invented the battery-powered tools for astronauts. And that's what made it.
Did someone say that, or you
for
just?
Us. No, that's true.
Is it?
Yeah, that's how they were able to engineer.
So always for war or outer space first, then we get it. Listen up, Brian. Love your videos over here in Rhode Island. We're actually going to be in Rhode Island for the tour. At the very end of August, we'll be in Rhode Island. And I've been to Rhode Island before, and it's the smallest state I've ever been to, and I believe it's probably the smallest state in the United States. It takes an hour to drive through it.
I did not know that.
It's tiny. It's just a tiny little hidden state. We have construction freestyle from Chuck at some point. Oh, we already asked that. What do we got over here? We got some keep crushing it. Scroll that. Oh, what do we got here? What's the plan for when you visit Nashville? I don't know. I've never been to Nashville. I've been to Knoxville, and I was just driving through on the way from Florida. I've never been to Nashville. I'm assuming we got to see someone playing guitar. But Nashville's a place where they do all the music, country music, right?
Yeah. Singers, songwriters.
They can make it there. They can make it anywhere. So I'm assuming some concerts and stuff. The plan is to visit job sites, see what the local guys are doing, building, and then do a meet and greet if possible, or something like that. Of course, you know, after that's all done, I'll be doing whatever Nashvilleians do for a few hours before I head back to the hotel and head somewhere else. See how much.
That's where Theo Vaughn lives.
In Nashville?
I think so.
I thought he lived in Austin. Gotta get
wrong.
Raven Builders out here for that. Oh, for Rhode Island? Of course. M18s aren't difficult to fix. The M12 ones are shit, man. I had 5/4, 4 to 5s, 4/5, 6 amps die same time. Yeah, they suck. Nah, they suck. Let's plan for Nashville again. What are you gonna be doing on the tour? I'm located on Long Island and would like to attend. Long Island's exciting because we get to drive through New York City and all that fun stuff. Long Island, are we stopping at a Decks and Docks location? Yes, so we're doing a meet and greet at the Decks and Docks location there. And hopefully I get to see some construction, but either way, we get to, it's an excuse to kind of check out the whole New York City vibe that's going on there.
Strong Island.
Is that what they call it?
I think they should.
What else we got?
Listen up, Brian. I love your videos over here in Rhode Island.
Have you ever hurt yourself badly? Only on the inside. No, I've always been rather overly cautious. I've never been too rambunctious. I know in the videos it looks like I'm sometimes doing dangerous stuff, but I do know what I'm doing. I know what looks dangerous but isn't. I don't actually do dangerous things. There's a few, steps. So if you're not a professional, don't try things at home. But I don't actually do dangerous stuff. Like I use a push stick or I do a flip method on a table saw. I don't put my fingers near blades, typically. What about you? You ever hurt yourself? Yeah. Yeah, I have that. It's this. It's like this. So now, ever since the table saw incident,
Oh.
I can do this.
You see this one I can do?
6 fingers now.
6 fingers.
Somehow the table saw added a finger.
It did hurt though when I fell from heaven. Get it?
Do you use U2 fasteners? Are you stopping in Pittsburgh? I go through Pittsburgh all the time. Just on the highway though, just on the way from wherever we're headed from south to back up north again. We always drive by the stadium there with all the Penguin stuff on it and all the Crosby stuff on it. So that's pretty cool. Have yet to do anything other than stop at gas stations in Pittsburgh though. What's the preferred composite decking? Anything but wood-based composite I like. I'm not a huge fan of wood-based composites. I think that all the horror stories you hear about composite decking are from wood-based composites because they rot, they grow mold, they break, they split. They need to be pre-drilled. Their plugs don't take well. Just rather not use them at all. Even if the customer asks nicely, I don't recommend them because it only leads to disappointment.
I like the wear deck.
Yeah, wear deck's
because
nice.
of the zero expansion contraction.
It's crazy how much it doesn't expand and contract.
Miters tighter than spiders.
It's true. Wood Bully rocks. That's a fact. What do we got
You
here?
should start selling wood bully rocks.
What's a profit margins like on an average job? That's a very complicated question. So what you want to aim for in construction is 10 to 15% is a good profit margin. If you can get away with 20 to 30, some people say they make 80, whatever, but there really is like the actual net profit only exists after labor, your own salary, labor, all the overhead, the trucks, the gas, the payments, the insurance, the fees, all of the materials, all of the delivery fees, all of the dumping fees, all of the toilets, all of everything is taken out. That's what's profit, is when literally everything is already paid for. Everything, even your own salary. Then you have profit. And that should be around 10 to 15% in this industry. It can be higher, it can be lower. Some people can operate at a 5% margin. The bigger the company is, the smaller that percentage of margin is, but the higher the number ends up being. So if that makes sense. But I know that I hear a lot of paving guys say that their margins are like 80%, which is not true. I think they just think after they're done paying for aggregate and pavers, they think it's all profit after that, and that's why they're a little confused. Unless they are making 80% margins, then the most lucrative business models possible, which would be cool too.
Profit margarines.
Profit margarines. It's good on toast.
Spread it.
Heart healthy. Your Milwaukee versus Makita video was not fair. When did we do that?
I don't know if we ever faced those two off.
I don't think we did. If you're thinking of the DeWalt versus the Makita, it wasn't actually a face-off video. It was just both of us using our saws, and the footage was there, and I posted it. It wasn't a competition. It was just us cutting.
And I had a broken back that day.
Yeah, broken foot.
Broken
Remember?
foot that
We were
day.
hobbling on the one foot.
I had a pirate's limp. I had like a rematch.
It wasn't even a race, but I think the context, you post a video with two different tool brands, people immediately assume it's a race and you're competing. There's
Race
no
wars.
so I actually, it wasn't even a competition, if that's the one you're talking about, but everyone just assumed it was, which is pretty cool. How much of the profit are you reinvesting in the business? All of it. For 5 years straight, every dime back into the business, every year. Sounds crazy, but the only reason I got into business was so I can have a business. In order to have a healthy business, because I bootstrapped it, started with nothing, we're kind of forced to just do that if we want to grow, right? And there's no investors, there's no bank loans, there's no credit, there's none of that stuff. We've run a cash business from the beginning.
This guy wants to know why you say Brian.
I explained that earlier. I didn't know how to edit videos at first, and Brian would be filming just randomly, so I'd constantly have to say, "Pay attention, Brian. Look over here. Pay attention, Brian." And one day I stopped saying it. Got a bunch of messages saying, "Why did you stop saying it?" I didn't realize it was a thing until that moment, and then we just started doing it, and we realized everyone was enjoying it. Some people weren't. Don't care about those people, and we just kept doing it. I don't know. You remember that?
I remember that.
Remember that? And the band tees, it just happens to be what I was wearing. Some people think it's childish. I don't really care. I think you're childish. What do we got here? I'm watching you since the old carpenter competitions. Still no answer to why you say Brian. Oh, that's what he was. That's when we just answered. Now you know the story of Brian. When you're bidding jobs, how are you adding profit to the job without straight up telling the client that it's profit? I straight up tell them that it's profit. Well, you have your numbers, and I like to itemize each individual build. If your clients don't like you making profit, you should fire them immediately. That's ridiculous. Could you imagine being opposed to somebody else making a living after providing a service for you? Like, you don't want them to make a profit? That's one thing you got to get out of your head immediately. It's none of their business. And if they really have a problem with you making money on their back, then they're not the right client. Just leave them. Let them hire someone else. That's ridiculous. Imagine you did that to them. You're like, no, I'd rather you not make a living, sir. You should have some pride. If you hire somebody and you don't want them to make a living, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's ridiculous. How do you feel about that? Could you imagine?
That's not fair. They're out there though.
Yeah.
People want.
And just, you know what? We're not interested.
People want handouts.
Guess what? We're trying to run a healthy business that can survive. And when we give a warranty, we're going to be here when you need it. If you need a warranty claim, we're going to actually be able to honor that because we make a profit, because we're able to do these things, because money, because business. Everyone knows that. So yeah, don't waste your time with people who don't want you to make a profit. And if you're just feeling, shy or reserved about telling them because you think they won't like it, slowly work your way into getting over that. I find that being transparent is the best right away. I tell them way too much about myself and my business pretty much right away. And if they don't like it, I know they're not a good fit because we're going to be in their backyard for months. We're going to get to know each other really well. And if they're going to have problems with little things like me trying to earn a living off of building the deck, then we're gonna have a serious problem going forward. So we just won't work with those people. That's nonsense.
Favorite router bit brand? Diablo or
Diablo.
What's that one? Freud.
But Freud owns Diablo now, so that's probably why.
Diablo, Devil Blades.
El Diablo.
El Diablo. Handy Construction's got a question up here. Or a statement, more like it.
I went to college for engineering, and we do the same thing, build cool stuff. You need to suck at school to become a carpenter, like you just stated. Yeah. If you want to be a really good carpenter, you have to have some sort of learning disability,
Mm-hmm.
or, an intellectual disorder, or was that what they call it?
Or attitude problem.
Yeah, an ADD attitude problem.
Yeah.
And that's where you shine. Because people who are mechanically inclined aren't good at sitting down and learning. They want to build stuff with their hands. And that's why we have civilizations, because of dumb people who are good at putting up walls. Yeah, like us. Yeah, that's true. I'm also good at talking. That's the only reason I'm doing this. But I'm in Toronto, thinking about extending my deck. Love the Pylex helical piles you use. The standard length is the standard length good enough for Toronto frost and okay, so as long as you get the 50 inch, you shouldn't have an issue. To be honest, Toronto frost, we say 48 inches, but in Toronto, I've never seen the frost line go below like 2 feet. We'll break ground in the middle of February, and you get like 8 or 9 inches of frost, and then after that, it's just sand or dirt again, especially downtown. But even that being said, we've done jobs up in the suburbs where it was clay with Pylex 5 years ago, still standing, no problem. So Pylex, get to 50 inch, shouldn't be an issue.
Sometimes in Toronto we need the extenders on them. The
Yeah.
ground is soft,
That's true.
sandy.
And you know what? There's your depth thing too. You put an extender on it, you can go an extra 2 feet per extension. So if you really want to go deep, you can just throw a whole bunch
Go
of
all the way
extensions
to
on it.
China with it.
You could, and then it's really not going anywhere.
I ain't going nowhere.
Good luck winding it in though.
They spin the other way in China, I think.
And it starts reversing its way back
Yeah.
out, or starts sucking you in. I don't know how that works. Would you recommend getting a OSHA 30? What's that? What's an OSHA 30?
OSHA 30.
I know OSHA. That's a place.
I know. Oh, if you're 0 for 30, I think you'll lose a lot.
Yeah, that'd be me. Yo, I've literally been here for years and have no idea how you aren't bigger. Love from the UK. Yeah, I don't know how I'm not bigger. It's ridiculous. We're almost at 1 million total following.
But you got love in the UK. That's pretty good.
Yeah, if ever.
Isn't it,
They talk different.
bro?
In it. What else do
I
we got
got
here?
sawdust on my face.
Will Pylex pass permits? That depends. What you want to do is they have an engineer report from Pylex. Attach that to your permit when you go to submit, and they'll let you know what they want if they want anything different. So if you put the engineer report that Pylex offers you, attach it to your permit application, and make sure that Pylex is written on the actual drawing that you submit with, and they'll let you know if it's sufficient for the for the load that you're actually trying to carry with. Because at the end of the day, it's all about weight bearing, right? So we use helical piles, different tiers, different kinds. So from Pylex we use mainly for low level decks and stair landings, like to land the stairs. For everything else, we use mass core helical piles, which are a much larger galvanized pile that's put in with a machine, like a much larger machine.
That explains what OSHA 30 is. 30-hour training certification.
For safety, yes. Safety training, something that it's funny that you say that. But to be honest, safety training, it's cheap insurance for the employer. So, for example, if I put you through a training course that teaches you how to put on safety glasses, you now know and are responsible. So if you don't put on your glasses, it's on you, right? Like falling from heights. The reason you train for the falling from heights is so if you fall from heights, you're responsible for falling because you've been trained. You're a professional at not falling and you fell. Therefore, you didn't do your job. That's essentially what the safety training is just evasion of liability on behalf of whoever used to be liable is no longer liable, and now you're holding the bag because you've been trained and certified. You got your little piece of paper that says it.
And you're liable to get blamed. for whatever happens.
Essentially what it is. But any business owner should be doing this with their employees because you never know. Sometimes you hire bad apples, and there's guys who purposely try to hurt themselves at work to get workers' comp and stuff like that. So, yeah, put them through these training, and then just do the right thing. I remember when you first started? Still trying to figure out who Brian is. Brian is Brian.
The man of mystery, really.
Yeah, he likes it.
Mystique.
He prefers it that way, so we're gonna keep it going. Pouring a 3-inch concrete slab for a sidewalk entrance for minor for traffic. I don't know what that means. Do you recommend rebar or metal mesh? For a 3-inch pad, you can just do the mesh. You don't have to do rebar. If you're doing, we like to do rebar too if we're doing footings as well, underneath the pads, and we can build the columns and then tie it all together and then fill it all up. But for a 3-inch pad, just buy the 3x3 mesh from Home Depot, the 7x3 foot, those sheets, and just throw them on, tie them up. I don't think you need any more than that. I think some concrete guys say you don't need it at all, but we do it. What do we got?
No question.
This guy says you're fired before you hit the ground. Exactly.
That's right.
You falling is negligence in itself because you've been trained not to fall. So you falling, I have to dock your pay for that. Okay. We have about 5 minutes left, so we're gonna look. We're gonna look for some questions that we haven't answered yet. See what we can
I
find.
think we're backed up on this one.
Oh, we're backed up. Let's go. Yeah, this is when you got to keep scrolling. Yeah, if your customer doesn't want you to make money, just leave them. Leave them behind.
Same with your woman.
Okay, firing clients is powerful, especially if you can identify the ones that to decline in the first place. Yes, the power of no. It's a mighty, mighty powerful word when you use it correctly. And when you go into business for the first time, you're kind of scared that you won't be able to find work. So the word no doesn't even, you kind of take it away from your vocabulary. But sometimes people are just problematic, and don't let the budget, if it's like a large job, don't let it trick you into thinking it'll be okay, because no amount of money will be okay, because a bad client, you're just going to lose money. You're not going to make it anyway, so don't waste your time. Do you always get building permits if needed, or do you ever just take the risk? I don't like taking the risk. Now that's something that the onus is on the homeowner, not the contractor. So if the homeowner says, hey, we're in the kind of neighborhood where my neighbors are putting up this and that, they don't get permits, can we just avoid permits? Just make sure the onus is on them, and I don't think it's worth the risk, so I wouldn't do it. And it sucks, but we have to wait for permits. Sometimes it's just a matter of timing, and it really sucks when things are backed up in permits, so I get why guys will just kind of start working anyways, as long as you know the code and you're building it to code. Problem is, if the inspector does get called and shows up, he'll put a stop work order on you. You might pay a fine, usually you won't. He may make you take it down. What on earth is this?
You gotta bring it.
What is this?
You gotta stop it right there. There you go. Prove you're not a robot.
Why would you do that halfway through a live? Come on, man. Oh, to make sure that I'm not running a live while I'm sleeping or something?
Yeah, it could be a Russian cam girl or something.
What was I talking about? Okay, so you get either a stop work order or a fine as well. You could get a fine. Usually they won't. They'll put a stop work order. They'll tell you, draw it up, file for the permits, and the inspector will say, call me once a permit's been granted, and I'll come do the inspection.
Oh, this guy's got a good question.
The problem is, if you've already finished building and your town doesn't allow it to be built that way, you'll have to take it apart, start over, which could be catastrophic. So again, the onus is on the client, but the client is still going to be very apprehensive to understand his position. He's going to be like, I don't want to pay for the same deck twice, even though I said I would. It's just a problem. So it's best to just get the permits. There's quite a few things about permits that we could talk about in person if we ever meet. I could tell you quite a bit. What's the next one?
Have you ever tried to pour
Dry pour?
a dry concrete
Yeah.
pour? Couldn't really call it a pour.
And it was such a
dry.
catastrophe. I didn't even post the video.
Yeah,
So I decided to do a little walkway in my front yard with these slabs that we're doing in between the grass, and I'm like, let's do a dry pour for each one, and see what happens. And you know what's really cool is the concrete currently looks like it's aged about 15 to 20 years, and it's about 8 months old. So there's that. So that's proven that dry pour sucks. Anyone who says it doesn't is just saying that, or they have no eyes and they think it looks good. It flakes. It looks terrible. I also tried using Coke and Mentos as a retardant for the concrete, so we could get like an exposed aggregate look.
You can't say that.
But it was messy, and it also looks like trash. So
It looks better though.
I like to experiment. My wife hates it, but I like to experiment at my house with all the like experiments instead of at customers' houses, and then we get left with like the janky experimental stuff that is all over the place here, which is kind of fun for me.
Research and development.
Yeah, that's right. It's science. Asphalt driveway has dipped where it meets the garage floor. That happens to every garage and driveway of all time. One thing, you have two options: you get used to it, or you repave your driveway. That's about it. Get concrete driveway next time. Do you have to use Trex or composite blades, or is anything above 40T is good? For OC lumber, we just use anything. We just use finished blades, just regular crosscut blades with 40 tooth or higher. You have to change the blade more often, typically, but it's worth it to just keep a fresh blade on it. I know some people sharpen their blades. I've never had the patience for that.
No.
No. Have you always specialized in these outdoor landscape structures? Yes, pretty much. I started digging ditches and building fences when I was about 15, and in the winter I would do temp agency jobs at factories, really crappy ones, like packing like steel pipes or chopping pepperonis for pizza places, like a factory that makes pizza toppings. What else? I worked at a soup factory. It was horrible. And then I got into commercial flooring for quite a bit because I thought that outdoor living was like Mickey Mouse construction, is like what all the union guys would always tell me. Oh, you should get into real construction. And then when I got into real construction, it was a joke. It was all like, it's hard to even explain it, but no one man does anything more that contribute. It's like you need 100 people to build one thing rather than one guy building it himself. It's much more rewarding when you can build something from the foundation to the finish and even design it too. It's a lot more fun when you're on a kind of like an assembly line construction is the way I would think of it. You have one task that you do all day every day, and that's it, and that can be mind-numbing and depressing. So I don't like to do that. It wasn't for me. Some people love it. They love the benefits.
It's nice being outside.
Yeah, and it's nice being outside.
Vitamin D.
In the wintertime, it sucks.
Yeah.
We get over it. But what do we got here? We got 4 new messages on this one. And then I didn't mean to send an invitation. Stop inviting people. Where do you work? Area. We work in Durham region. So it's just east of Toronto. Fiber for hit the ground. Oh, I didn't even see any of these ones. All right, well, we're pretty much done. Does anyone have any questions before we leave? Instagram's always backed up by a million.
That's Instagram?
Yeah, this is Instagram here.
Oh, okay.
I think that's Instagram. Is this Instagram? That's Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. And we got them. What's a better product, TimberTech or Trex? TimberTech is a better product, but I think both their wood-based composite lines are garbage. AZEK used to be the best deck board on the market. It's not anymore. I think they know that. I'm sure they're going to come up with a new formula or something because it expands and contracts too much. It's a pain in the ass. And it's soft. So when you're building stairs, you got to do 8 to 12 inches on center for your stringers. It's a nightmare. What else we got?
What's your favorite thing to build?
I like whenever there's like a weird feature. I like weird pergolas. I like, water features. I like I like cabinets or privacy screens. I like fireplaces. I like the features of it, because once you build a deck, you build a deck, and then it's more fun to build other things. I like building stairs. I really like building stairs. I'd say stairs are my favorite of all the things.
I like building sheds.
Sheds, yeah, because it's like
I
building
like
a tiny
trimming
house.
out a shed, making it look like nothing you've ever seen.
Yeah, that's fun because you get a mix of kind of everything, right?
Yeah.
It's like building a tiny little house.
Comes together quick. Slap 4 walls and a roof on top, and then you throw some siding on it.
That's the way to go.
In fact, I'm gonna go out there right now and build a shed.
Literally.
Widowy.
Widowy. And then we're building a studio where I can do these lives, and I don't know. Me and Chuck should start a podcast.
Yeah.
We'll talk more than we're talking now, and I'll let you talk too, instead of me
bit.
just talking over you like I do to everyone. How long have you been doing decks? 20 years almost feels like it has been. Since I started, have I been doing consistently for 20 years? No. So probably 12 years maybe, because I was on and off for a while when I was younger. PVC all the way. I like PVC, but it expands and contracts too much. What's the best composite? You don't want to hear it. Wear Deck. I think Wear Deck's the best for durability and for workability and for expansion, contraction, and longevity. Of course, their colors are monotone. That's the one drawback.
Those are there. Where there?
There it is. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. PVC all the way. My garage concrete floor looks like crap. A suggestion for DIY refinishing. You could always do epoxy.
Yeah, that's
Chase
what
out-
I was thinking.
Yeah, chase out the cracks, fill them in, all the bad ones. You know, fill in the patch the little the bad spots, and then you could just pour an epoxy, and they come in with the paint confetti, and then they epoxy over. It's nice
So
and
they can
smooth.
make it look like marbles.
Yeah, and if you do it for your own house, who cares if you screwed up? Only your wife will get mad. Everyone else will be fine because they don't know. So it's good for experimenting. That's why I like to mess around in my house, because I get to test products without subjecting customers to my science experiments. What do we got here? Currently showing the lads on site in my videos. Thanks, buddy.
Thoughts on lifetime wood treatments, non-toxic powder, wood stain.
I don't know what that
I
means.
don't know anything about that. Sounds like it might be toxic.
Yeah. A
They always-
powder?
It's always not toxic.
Lifetime? Oh, Lifetime Wood Treatments is in capitals because that's probably the brand
The
name.
brand.
Because knowing that, you know, you sprinkle some powder on wood and it stays the same for a lifetime, like the life of what, a hamster? Maybe? I don't think it would be
yeah.
a lifetime of a human. And if it was, I'd like to hear about it. I'd like to try
I'll
it
put
out.
some of that powder on me, maybe.
Yeah.
Give me an extra lifetime.
Then you don't have to worry about having the t-shirt stain
Yeah, or
Yeah.
death.
or death, yeah, if you want to live another lifetime. Maybe a tree's lifetime. How long is that? It could be thousands of years. Okay, what else we got? Moisture Shield is this Stratus line, fellas. Think Wear Deck, but pretty. Not slippery. I don't know.
Oh, shots fired.
I've seen Moisture Shield. I need to see some samples in my hand, because last time I checked, they had a really, really crazy grain. I don't think they were any prettier than Wear Deck. I think they're both in the same boat. Where
It's moister than an oyster, that stuff.
they have a great product that some people would prefer to use AZEC or decorators because of the aesthetic, the variegation in the coloring. That's why people choose the mineral based and the PVC based composites. That's how they say it in Wisconsin.
Composites.
Composite. That's how they want us to say it. People always get so mad when I say composite.
Suppository.
Compository.
Someone's asking about those wooden nails. Have you got to shoot any of those?
No! Somebody should reach out to them for me. I want to do it. It looks really cool. And I think a lot of people would find it educational. I could just take a bunch of golf tees and a hammer and just do it
Yeah.
myself.
And if you have problems with vampires bugging you, you could use that.
It's like a machine gun for
That-
vampires.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
That'll be
genius.
in the new Blade movie.
Okay, we got to shut this down because we've been here for like an hour and a bunch of minutes. Thank you, everyone who did show up and everyone who is here watching.
Check under your seats for some prizes. Everybody's getting one.
Though I know the one on Facebook stays up. So anyone who missed it or just got here late, you can go on Facebook and you can watch the live because it's going to stay up pretty much indefinitely. Thank you all for coming.
Merci beaucoup.
I don't know how